Hello and welcome. So today, guys, I have for you 6 fragrances that were all launched in 2024 and that I want to bring to your attention because these fragrances have been totally underrated, right? So a fragrance comes out and it is hyped, or some of us, talk about it, and then other people talk about it, and it becomes like a snowball effect. But with these fragrances, even though I think that they are wonderful, each in their own right, there's been very little activity around them, if any. In a couple of cases, I have seen several fellow content creators discuss a couple of these fragrances, but definitely not as much as I think that these fragrances really deserve to be talked about. So of course, this is one of those videos that I typically label fragrances that should have been hyped, but were not. But before we jump right in, if this is your first time here, I'm Arahi, and I'm your fragrance concierge because I'm totally committed to creating the best fragrance experience for you. I upload videos multiple times a week, and sometimes you even get a bonus video. We talk about all types of fragrances on this channel. We talk about designer, Western niche, Middle Eastern, affordable, scented body products because we just love to smell fabulous at all times. So if that sounds like the type of content that you're interested in and like a good plan, then please consider subscribing, give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget, leave a comment. Let's go. All right, guys. So the first fragrance that I want to discuss with you today is from a fragrance house that is very new to my collection. I had a fam member maybe about 6 months ago tell me that I should try this fragrance house, and she referred a couple of fragrances to me, and I can't remember. I think one was Niche Femme, but if you are watching, you know who you are, and I wanted to thank you for making me aware of this fragrance house because I do really enjoy the 2 fragrances that you recommended, and out of coincidence, since then, they did reach out to me and they did send me this fragrance that I'm going to talk about next. And I'm speaking about Bharara Beauty, and this one is called Goddess. So guys, Goddess is a fragrance that was launched in 2024, and it is such a special fragrance. This to me is definitely a feminine fragrance, and it is fragrance that makes you feel very beautiful, but in a very calming way. There is something calming. I don't know, because if you look at the notes, you would think that it would be more of a tea fragrance or, a bit more floral, but no, it's a very balanced fragrance, even though I do get that beautiful feel from it. It is a very easy reach fragrance. It's one that I don't have to think about. When I want to smell beautiful, I can just pull this and step out the door and know that I'm going to get compliments, because it is also a very high compliment getter. I really don't understand why this fragrance has not received more attention. But I will say a couple of things. Maybe it's the fact that, this is a fragrance house that is niche, but it is a smaller fragrance house. And maybe, the reach of their marketing efforts is not as great as other fragrance houses that do get, a ton of attention out there. But nonetheless, if you can get your nose on Goddess, I think you will be very impressed. I also want you guys to know that I do have a 20% code in the description box for Bharara Beauty, so you can get any of their fragrances for 20% off. In addition to getting you compliments, this is also a fragrance that performs rather well. This is not a beast mode fragrance at all, guys, but it is a fragrance that does get me consistently 7 hours whenever I use it without having to overspray. This is also a fragrance that I have enjoyed layering with other fragrances in my collection because, again, it is just a beautiful fragrance. I think that this is suitable for absolutely any age because it is so non-threatening. It's also a fragrance that is perfect for the office, and it is one that you may even want to consider making your signature scent. All right, guys, so the next fragrance that I want to discuss with you was sent to me, but this is a fragrance, guys, that is also very beautiful fragrance, and I just don't understand why it has not received more attention from our fragrance community. It is a flanker, but at that, I really think it is really beautiful and quite special. Is it groundbreaking? No, but it is definitely special. And I am speaking about Mugler's Alien Hypersense. This is a fragrance that was launched in 2024, and the Mugler team so nicely sent me this fragrance. And I want to tell you that, this is a fragrance that you should not snooze on. I do have all the other aliens because they did send me the entire range. But I have to tell you, I really do love this one. This fragrance is woody. It has a ton of white florals, and the white florals are quite dominant. So the only thing I will tell you is that you do have to be into white florals in order to enjoy this fragrance. It is sweet. It has quite a bit of freshness brought on by some citrus notes, and it has a bit of an aquatic quality to it. But interestingly enough, even though it is kind of fresh and has that aquatic quality, it is a fragrance that you could use all throughout the year without a problem. Now, on a very cold day, would I personally pull this fragrance? No, not really. But otherwise, you can use it all throughout the year. I don't know if it's because this fragrance was actually a creation from my favorite perfumer, which is Dominique Ropion. But this is definitely a fragrance that I truly do enjoy and that I highly recommend. This is a fragrance that I would definitely say is a full-on feminine fragrance. I can't imagine a gentleman wearing this fragrance truly. This to me is for the ladies. This is also a fragrance that has a very strong projection during the first 2 hours and does get you a full day wear without a problem. It is also such a beautiful fragrance that you are going to get compliments. Will they be running you down trying to give you a compliment? No, but this is definitely a fragrance that will get you compliments because it is absolutely beautiful. And if someone is into white florals, they're going to love to be around you when you're wearing this fragrance. This is a fragrance that you could wear, as I said before, for all seasons and, in my opinion, for any occasion, day or night. Let us know if you tried Alien Hypersense and how do you feel about it? Do you think that it should have received more attention than what it has to date? So before we go to the next fragrance, guys, I really have thought a lot about why do some fragrances command so much attention or get so much hype and are promoted so much by the fragrance community in general, and others are not. And yeah, PR may play a role, within content creators because, you receive it, and if you like it, you're going to talk about the fragrance. But I think that there's other factors, and I was looking into it, and I think that there's 3 different reasons why a fragrance may not get the attention that it does deserve. The first one would be what I would call niche appeal, right? So let's say that the fragrance is from a small fragrance house, as I was saying before. If it's a small fragrance house, maybe they have a limited budget for marketing, which will also limit the extent of exposure that the fragrance will get within the fragrance community. So that may definitely play a role. Then there's the scent profile. Some scent profiles tend to be rather complex, as the fragrance that I'm going to speak about next is one that I would define as a complex scent profile. And sometimes that plays a role because some people may find the fragrance polarizing and, it may just not take off much because of that. Then the third reason that I was thinking about, maybe there's some limited availability. Maybe, the fragrance was produced in a very small batch or in a very limited amount, depending again on things like budget, but sometimes it's done on purpose. But maybe that'll play a role because there is a difference between a fragrance that there's so many units of the bottles of the fragrance available and you find it at just about every retailer versus a fragrance that may not be distributed all throughout because there's a limited quantity. All right, so the next fragrance that is also a new 2024 release and which I have not heard, guys, anybody talk about. And I just don't understand, but let's talk about Profumo di Firenze, and this one is Latte e Mandorla. Now, this is a fragrance, guys, that, as I said before, was launched in 2024, and it is a dominant lactonic with almond kind of fragrance. But to my nose, what I get from this fragrance is a very dominant rose, patchouli, and a note of milk and almond. And at that, the patchouli and the rose tend to be at the helm. So this is a fragrance that will be rather polarizing for many because number one, it's lactonic, so that's a limitation. So you have to be a lactonic fragrances lover. And at that, it is very lactonic. It is a fragrance that as soon as you sniff it, you're going to pick up on that patchouli and on the rose in the background. And if I recall correctly, throughout the olfactory journey, like midway in the olfactory journey, the rose becomes very dominant and the lactonic quality intensifies. So it does give the fragrance a bit of sharpness. So you actually have to enjoy a very lactonic fragrance. And of course, enjoy the notes of patchouli and rose. The other thing that I find rather interesting about this fragrance is that it's called Latte and Mandorla. Well, I'm not getting latte at all. I'm getting a lactonic fragrance. I am getting the note of milk, but it's not necessarily milk. It's almost like almond milk because it's definitely a combination of the milk and the almond. This fragrance, I dare say, will come across as a full-on gourmand to most noses, but not a gourmand that is going to be mass appealing. I am telling you, this is not one you want to blind buy. I did not blind buy it, but I thought that it was very interesting and I wanted to try a fragrance that had the notes of milk and almond and rose and patchouli and the other notes that have been disclosed, which I'm sharing. And I just wanted to try it. So I tried it and I did like it, and then I ordered a bottle. This is a fragrance that does perform well. It's not a beast mode at all. It is a fragrance that gives me 7 to 8 hours at the most without having to overspray. And it does have a moderate sillage and moderate projection because the projection does not go past the 1.5 hour mark for me, no matter how much I spray. This is definitely not a fragrance that I would pull during the summer because it could be quite overpowering. This is definitely one best suited for the fall, for the winter, and for early spring, in my opinion. I also think that this is not a fragrance that I would ever pull for a formal event or for a date night because this is not that kind of a fragrance. This fragrance, I can tell, was designed to give you more of a comforting, warm hug type of feel. But I think that the way that the patchouli and the rose were done together makes it a bit more edgy, so you don't necessarily get that warmth from the fragrance. Let us know if you've tried Latte and Mandorla. Nonetheless, I think that this is a fragrance that should have received more attention than what it has, because what really pulls me to this fragrance is the level of complexity in the olfactory journey and in the blend of the notes in general. So the next fragrance, guys, I have to tell you, I have been so surprised that I haven't heard more around this fragrance. And this one is from Sabrina Carpenter, and this is Sweet Tooth Cherry Baby. This fragrance, guys, just as the name indicates, will give you a sweet tooth. And it is all about the note of cherry. But at that, the note of cherry here is so sweet. So sweet. It's almost like a glazed cherry, if that even exists. I don't know how to explain it, but it is a very sweet cherry. This is a fragrance that opens up quite sweet and playful, but at the dry down, it becomes not a serious fragrance. It does lose a lot of its playfulness and gives way into a full-on cherry fragrance. From this fragrance to my nose, I pick up immediately, like I said before, the cherry, which is very sweet. I do get some florals and I do get the vanilla. I also in the opening get like a glazed apple, and I do get a hint of the patchouli. This is a fragrance again that I just don't understand why it hasn't received more attention. I think I've seen a couple of people talk about it, and I was just curious because this is a flanker within the Sabrina Carpenter line, and I think I'm going to try a couple of the others. Would I say that this fragrance is more for a teenager? No, I think that all ages can pull this fragrance off. You just have to be in the mood for a sweet cherry fragrance. You know, I like and love cherry fragrances, and I do like them with quite a bit of character. You guys know that Duchessa and Bodacious from Bodacia, the Victorious, are two of my favorite cherry fragrances among others that I have, and those are so different than this fragrance. What I appreciate from this fragrance is its playfulness, and that's why I don't understand why it didn't receive more attention, because it is quite different. It's almost like you have a very cherried, candied cherry with nuances of chocolate. You know, that's exactly what this fragrance is, and the dry down, in my opinion, on skin is absolutely gorgeous and different. Let us know if you've tried this fragrance. Okay guys, so the next two fragrances are Western niche fragrances, and they're very high-end, as in pricey fragrances, right? And I just don't understand why they have not received all the hype that I believe both of them deserve, because these are fragrances that I plan to keep in my collection forever because I think they are exquisite. And the first one that I want to talk to you about is Maison Francis Kurkdjian's, and this is APOM or APOM. I'm sorry, I think it's APOM or APOM, but what I can tell you is that this fragrance, guys, oh my goodness, I just don't understand why it has not been hyped much more. There are a couple of people that have talked about this fragrance, and there has been some rumbling around it, but not to the level that I think that this fragrance deserves. Now, APOM is a fragrance that had a Perfume and a APOM that was launched in, I believe, 2009. And now in 2024, they came out with this unisex version, which is just APOM. Now, this fragrance, I can tell you, even though they say it's unisex, to me, this is a unisex fragrance with a slight lean to the feminine side. This fragrance is so beautiful, guys, that I really think it is a scent, a signature scent worthy kind of fragrance. It has the smell of like classic luxury. You know, it's almost, it does border, in my opinion, in the realm of like quiet luxury, but not quite. Because it does make a statement. It's not a bold, in-your-face kind of statement-making fragrance, but it is definitely a fragrance that will set you apart from the rest, because the fragrance does speak to elegance and classic beauty. It is just a very, very beautifully done fragrance, not to be surprised, because it's Maison Francis Kurkdjian, and that's what we get from him. This fragrance also has an exceptional performance, guys, because on my skin, this fragrance borders on beast. I get beyond the 8-hour mark without having to overspray. A very little bit of this fragrance goes a long way on my skin, and this is a fragrance that will definitely get you attention. Not only compliments, but it will get you attention. It's almost like people will come close to you, and after being around you for a couple of minutes, they'll realize, oh my goodness, it's the scent, and then they'll stop and ask you, what is it that you're wearing? That's the kind of reaction that I've received while wearing this fragrance. All in all, I just don't understand how such beautiful fragrance has not received more attention, because it is worthy of all the hype. I really think that it is in a league of its own, not only within the Maison Francis Kurkdjian line, but in general, when it comes to classic, beautiful fragrances. This one is just exquisite. All right, guys, so the last fragrance that I have for you. Oh my goodness, guys, I just don't understand how this has not been everywhere, right? Being hyped in every single platform and just people talking about it, because it is exquisite. So I'm speaking about Marc-Antoine Barrois, and this is Tilia. Now guys, this is a Quentin Bisch creation. And not just because it's Quentin Bisch am I saying that this should be hyped everywhere. No, this fragrance to me is a masterpiece. It is exquisite. It is beautiful. It is elegant. It is just such an incredible, classic, kind of a bit of a nostalgic feel kind of fragrance. I also find this fragrance to be highly addictive. And it was launched in 2024 and I picked it up almost immediately. And I have to tell you, I've had to try so many other fragrances, but this is a fragrance that I am really looking forward to really using continuously, because while I'm not obsessed with it, it is a very, very high love for me. I think I'm not necessarily obsessed with it because I haven't had the opportunity to use it enough to really become obsessed with it, and because there's a couple of other fragrances in my collection which will be coming in a couple of more videos that have just taken my heart away, I mean, immediately. But this fragrance, oh, do not be mistaken. Oh my goodness, this fragrance, like I said, is a true masterpiece. This fragrance, when I first sniffed it, I couldn't understand what is it that I was picking up that I couldn't clearly put my finger on what type of note it was. And I've come to the conclusion that it's the note of broom, right? So broom is a flower that after doing some research, it will give the fragrance like an apricot / peach kind of quality. And I do pick that up clearly in this fragrance. This fragrance is an everyday, non-complicated type of fragrance. You could definitely make this your signature scent. And this is a fragrance that you can use, guys, for any occasion, day or night. This is designed to be, in my opinion, this was really designed to be a signature scent and a fragrance that will definitely become a classic in your collection. Like one of those fragrances that you know when to pull it on a daily basis. You could go to the office with this, you could go out with your girlfriends, you could go to a very casual type of event or occasion. It doesn't matter. You could wear this with jeans, you could dress it up, you could dress it down. And I say that you could wear it all throughout the year with no reservations. Such an incredibly beautiful fragrance with such a high level of versatility. And it is also a fragrance that will deliver incredible performance, because on me, on my skin, it does give me a full day wear without a problem. It has a moderate sillage, but at that, it has this effect on people because it will get you compliments, not one or two, but you will get quite a number of compliments while wearing this fragrance. It also has a very, very strong projection during the first, I would say, 90 minutes of wear, and then on my skin it becomes a scent bubble. And around the 5th or 6th hour mark is when it becomes a skin scent. But at that, you're still going to get sniffs of yourself. So this is an incredibly performing fragrance. And I just don't understand, being the type of fragrance that it is, as beautiful as it is, performing how it does, why it hasn't received a lot more attention and hype than it has to date. Let me know if you've tried Tilia and your thoughts. All right, guys. So I just wanted to come here today and share with you those 6 fragrances, because it's really been bothering me. Like whenever I create a video of fragrances that I believe should have been hyped, but have not been hyped much, or sometimes not at all, it really does bother me, because these are definitely worthy creations in my opinion. And I just want to bring them to you to see if I can, pique your interest, and you can get yourself a sample or a decant and try them and then give me your feedback. You may or may not agree, but I just think that their fragrances, especially those 2 that I shared with you, those are very, very special fragrances, guys. Those will be in my fragrance collection forever because they are absolutely perfect, exquisite. Anyway, guys, as always, thank you so much for hanging with me today, and I will see you all in the next video.